To get started with this project, you should have downloaded the motorcycle ad information. The first thing that I'm giving to you is a set of product info for 3 different advertisements you're going to build. Each part of this has the text information, including the text name, a little blurb call out for it, the price, performance, all of that. And there is a product photograph that has a white background. Now, do pay attention to the names of each one of these because the product photo goes along with the product information. Now, to help you lay out each of your ads, I've given you a set of textures, patterns, and images. In the textures and patterns folder, I've got a Photoshop document. It looks blank, but each layer of this document has a different texture to it. If you open it up, you can see in the layers panel all the different layers. In addition to this, I've given you a variety of different other images. Some of these images are in a PNG format, and some of them also are available in an Illustrator format. And if you open up the Illustrator format, you can see how they're all on a separate page or artboard. So since Harley-Davidson has a grungy, historical, almost gritty feel to it, each one of these textures and patterns also has that kind of feel as well. Now, as we lay these out, I'm expecting you to use these textures, patterns, and product images somewhere within your design. Not all of them, but just some of them. I've given you some extra images. These could also be incorporated. They're not necessary, but they're just kind of there to help you for whatever you need for your layout. And then finally, I'm giving you the Harley-Davidson logo. Notice that this logo, when you open it up in Illustrator, has the different versions on a different layer. So as you place them inside of your design, you'll need to be able to choose the correct layer that you want to work in. Now, to get started in setting up our document, let's jump into InDesign and create a new file. The size of our document is going to be a little unconventional. The width of it needs to be 8 1/4, so 8.25 inches. The height of it is 11.5 inches. We want there to be 3 pages total and turn off facing pages. Additionally, down under your margins, make sure it's a 1/2 inch on all sides and set your bleed settings to be 0.125. With that done, we can say create and let's build out our ad. Now, the first thing we need to do is to bring on all of our elements for each advertisement. I'm going to move over here to the side and let's go to File and Place. Let's locate the information. The first thing I'll bring on will be the logo, which needs to be a part of all of your ads. So there's one. Let's drop in one of the first products. So I'll do the super low first. We'll click and drag and add the text box. Notice that when I add the text box, however, when you bring it in, pay close attention to some of the spelling or if there's any errors in the text that's brought in. In my case, I'm losing my quotation marks, but that's simply because this particular font doesn't have that. But make sure that any of the special text is not missing. Since this is the super low, we'll go to File and place the super low picture along with it. And we'll click and drag. And I'll deal with some of the other pictures later. For now, let's do that for each of the 3 different areas. So I'm going to drop in the 48 text and also choose the 48 JPEG. We'll do a box for the text and click and drag out a box for the picture. And then drop in the CVO, holding down Command to select both of those. And then we'll click and drag and place a box for each one of those. To bring on the logo, I'm simply going to select the logo that I first placed and let's paste it inside of each layout as well. All right, going back up to the first one. Remember, we need to have the name and the picture of the product as large as possible. We've got the little blurb and also the price that needs to be in there somehow and balance out all of the other text. To make things easier to select and move around, I'd highly recommend putting each section of text inside of its own separate text box. Now, the next thing we want to be able to do is to cut out the background of the image of your product so that we isolate just the motorcycle by itself. To do this, we need to create a clipping path inside of Photoshop. There's a lot of different ways we could do this, but with your image selected, you can right-click or control-click on it, choose Edit With, and then choose Photoshop. This is going to launch Adobe Photoshop, and the first thing we need to do is to select the motorcycle itself. Go over to your tool panel and locate the Object Selection tool. With this tool selected, you can click on the middle of your object, and it'll do a pretty good job of selecting all major parts of your motorcycle. Now, we still may need to refine certain areas. For instance, if we go down to the very bottom of your tool panel and turn on the Quick Mask mode, which is this option right here, this will show you in red the areas that are selected. Now, if you double click on the Quick Mask mode icon, you can make this red area a little bit darker and easier to see. For instance, I'm going to bump mine up to be about 80% and say OK to that. Now when I turn on Quick Mask mode, I can definitely see it versus the background. With this mode turned on, I can do Command and the plus sign to zoom in, and you can see there's a variety of different places that it got wrong. For instance, on the wheel spokes down here, you can see how it didn't get the inside of it, but it did a pretty good job of getting everything else on the inside of my spokes. So to clean this up, let's grab our paintbrush tool. With the brush tool selected, first let's go up to our options. Remember, with a brush, you can change the size of it. We're going to keep the hardness of it at 100% and make sure you've got a good hard round brush. The other thing is make sure you're working in normal mode at 100% opacity and 100% flow rate. Now, you may need to adjust the size of your brush depending on the area you're wanting to paint. Wherever you paint white as your fill color, that's going to add on to your selection and get rid of the red. So make sure you're painting white to paint on parts that you do want to keep. If there's any parts that do need to get masked out, for instance, I can see it missed a little spot right here. Let's zoom into that area. I'll use my space bar to move around. Set your brush size to be smaller so it fits in that area, and then swap your fill and stroke color over to black. With black as the foreground color, wherever you paint inside of there, it'll also fill in. Go in now and try to fill in as many of these little areas as possible, correcting your image. Click once again on the Quick Mask mode, and you can see we've got everything nice and outlined with the marquee. The second part of this is to go to your Paths panel. Inside the Paths panel, at the very bottom center, click on Convert to a Vector Path. This will make a working path out of your entire selection, and you can see all the little vector points. We need to save it as a name, so double click on it, and let's give it a name of motorcycle. And say OK. With your path saved, let's go up to File and down to Save, and we can close out, or we'll keep the options of it. Now we can close it out and jump back into Adobe InDesign. To activate the path, we've got the picture selected. Let's go up to Object, down to Clipping Path, and open up our options. Make sure a preview is checked on. Choose your type to be the Photoshop path, and you can see by default it'll automatically click or select the motorcycle path that we have, and we'll say OK to it. Now if you do need to make small adjustments, like I can see on the back of this here, we can always use our direct selection tool and carefully click on the line and simply readjust it and maneuver it. Your paths don't have to be 100% perfect. The main thing is we're selecting them and creating our own path to remove that background from each of the different images. Whoops, there we go from here. Let's repeat this process with the other two images. First, go to them, select the image, right-click on it, and choose Edit With, and open in Photoshop. Use your Object Selection tool to click on your motorcycle. It may take a moment. To check the selection, go into Quick Mask mode. Then you can use your Paintbrush tool and zoom in and select areas and paint in areas that are necessary. Use white To fill in an area, use black. To unfill it, so in this case I'll do it for this one. Going back around, I think it's got most every area. I see this part right here can be touched up. Handlebars look good, even all the parts down in the bottom here. So that all looks good. Once it's selected, go out of Quick Mask mode, go over to your Paths panel, and click on the center portion to convert it to a working path. Double click it and give it a name. Then finally, File and Save to save your path. Jump back into InDesign, and to activate the path with the image selected, go to Object, down to Clipping Path, open the options, make sure Preview is turned on, and choose Photoshop Path, and say OK. One more time, let's do it for the super low. Right-click on it, and choose Edit With, Photoshop. Choose your Object Selection tool and click on the motorcycle. Go into Quick Mask mode and use your Paintbrush tool. Zoom in and carefully look at each area. If there's any parts that are missing, paint them in with white to reselect it. Once everything looks good, go out of Quick Mask mode by clicking here. Go to your Paths panel, click on the center portion, double click the work path name, and call it motorcycle. We'll save this as a JPEG and say OK. Jump back into InDesign, select the image, go to Object, Clipping Path Options, and then choose your type to be that Photoshop path. Now that we've got our images clipped out and also all of the text in their own separate text frame, let's talk about laying out your document.